Well, it looks like old Joe Biden's going to jump into the race for president. I got to say, it'd be hard for him not to at this point, since he is polling so far ahead of everyone else, especially in key states. I just saw a poll from South Carolina that showed him leading 37% to Bernie's 21%, and then Harris was in third with like 9. It was ridiculous. With polling like that, Biden's sure to have great donors lining up to invest in his campaign, because, I mean, he looks like a pretty safe bet at this point if you're just a casual observer. However, I think that I call him No Chance Joe, because he's got no chance. And it's quite simple why. It's the same reason why Spike Lee's movie lost at the Oscars. It is because of where Joe Biden lands in the intersectional hierarchy. Joe Biden is old, he is white, and he is male. That's all you need to know about him as far as the Democrat primary is concerned. Now, there is a bit of an ideological factor in the Dem primary, yes, but it is not the overwhelming factor. Now, you might say, but look, how can race and age and gender matter if Joe Biden and Bernie are both the top two leaders in every poll? And the reason for that is because the polls are of individuals who are normal people in America. They're not of the kind of people who shape opinion on Twitter and on TV. Now, it might seem counterintuitive that I'm saying that the opinions of blue checks matters more in the Dem primary than the actual public polling, but it shouldn't be any surprise that that those people will have their chance during the primary to try and drag Bernie and Biden through the mud and do everything they can to strip away at their support. Bernie and Biden will be smeared as all sorts of terrible things by people in the media over the next year or so. However, in Bernie's case, at least he has his whole, oh, I love communism, shtick to go off of. So Bernie can really rally up the young pseudo-intellectual college students, whereas Biden doesn't have any of that. Biden really combines all the worst aspects of Bernie and Hillary. He has all of the establishment neoliberal talking points of Hillary, but then all of the lack of identity points of Bernie. Oh, and don't forget all of the Me Too stuff that I'm sure is going to come out about Biden during this primary. I mean, the creepy Uncle Joe meme that you're looking at on your screen here is not purely photoshopped, because he actually was and has, in many cases, grabbed women in inappropriate ways and been captured on film. This is something that is definitely not okay in the Me Too era for an old white male to be grabbing women. I think Harris is probably going to be the one to really go after him for that. I don't think Bernie will, but maybe a lot of surrogates for all candidates will go after Biden for that and try and drag him through the mud as some sort of like woman abuser or something like that. Then I'm sure Biden will make a video with his wife, and she'll say, "Oh, he's a good guy," and that worked for Bill Clinton back in '92, if you remember. I think it was after the Super Bowl. He did an interview on 60 Minutes with Hillary, and Hillary said, "Oh, we've had our problems and we worked things out, and I love my husband." Yeah, it's not going to work in 2019 because nobody these days thinks that marriages mean anything. Marriage has been completely devalued. I mean, just look at the Clinton marriage. Is there anybody who still thinks that those two people are married because they love each other? And another problem that Biden's going to have is he's not that nasty of a guy by today's standards. He doesn't really know how to hate his opponents in a race. Normally, because you have to remember, Biden was a member of the Senate for most of his life. I think he was elected to the Senate when he was like 29, so it was barely legal for him to be elected to the Senate. But he was. And the Senate is very much like a country club, okay? So he's very used to, having the political fights on TV, and, he's known for being very nasty to Clarence Thomas during his confirmation hearing. But at the end of the day, Biden's a guy who thinks, hey, we're all friends because we're all members of the country club, that is the Senate. And so for someone for an old guy who was in the Senate for that long, it's going to be very hard for him to sort of trash the other side, the Republicans, as evil people. I mean, he kind of has in the past, if you remember when he said Mitt Romney wanted to put y'all back in chains, talking to a black audience, but I mean, that was kind of comical. I don't think he really meant that. But the other Dems in the field, they have no problem calling out the Republicans as evil. because that's, I mean, some of them are grifters, but some of them actually believe that. So, and that's fair. I think if I do somewhat respect righteous indignation. If you really think that somebody is doing something that is morally wrong or unjust, you should call them out. You shouldn't just act like you're all buddies, because I don't think that you should endorse behavior that you would consider evil. But Biden, however, is trying to be somewhat conciliatory to the right. He said about the vice president this week that, hey, I disagree with the guy and I think he's wrong, but he's a good man. I remember him from when he was in Congress. And, of course, the entire left tore into Biden for this, saying, how dare you say Biden's a good man? He's a Christian. You know what that means? That means that he's a bad person because we don't like Christianity in the Democrat Party anymore. I mean, frankly, if you haven't had your anus penetrated by another man, you're a homophobe. And that's the standard now in the Democrat Party. Sidebar: I think I once read a think piece for Vox that was actually discussing whether the law should require all adult men to be anally penetrated so that they understand what a woman goes through or something like that. It was literally a column advocating for rape. But anyway, back to Biden. I think that if he were able to get through the primary, he'd probably do pretty well against Trump in a general election debate, because they're both kind of, buffoony cartoon characters. They both are kind of known for being dopey and saying dumb things. So I don't think that Biden would fall into the same trap that a lot of other people did, which was trying to act serious in front of Trump and then Trump, doing his stupid thing and then getting you to act stupid back. But then you just look stupid when you're stupid because you're normally kind of serious. I know that's a bit of a rant, but it's what happened. It's essentially what happened to Marco Rubio when he tried to sort of get down on Trump's level. Trump is very good at getting people down in the mud and then getting them all dirty, but staying pretty clean himself. But Biden, I think, would deal with that quite well, because Biden is used to sort of being dumb and buffoonish, and as long as he doesn't try and act too serious or sit on his high horse, I think that he'd do quite well against Trump. But again, probably won't get there. He's just, he's too white, he's too male, he's too, normal politician-y. Nobody really likes a normal politician these days. But anyway, if you've made it this far, smash that like button and hit the subscribe button and hit all the other buttons and make sure to comment too. Just don't click the dislike button. I wouldn't like that. And I'll see you folks tomorrow.